Today we will continue with our definitions, numbers 7 through 13, in our section of Mesopotamia. This is the second section, second half of the second section in our unit on ancient Mesopotamia. What was life like in Sumer? While Sumerian kings lived in large palaces, ordinary people lived in small mud brick houses. Most people in Sumer farmed. Some, however, were artisans, or skilled workers who made metal products, cloth, or pottery. Other people in Sumer worked as merchants or traders. They traveled to other cities and towns and traded for tools, wheat, and barley, for copper, tin, and timber, things that Sumer did not have. People in Sumer were divided into three social classes. There was the upper class, which included kings, priests, and government officials. In the middle class were artisans, merchants, farmers, and fishermen. These people made up the largest group of people. The lower class were enslaved people who worked on farms or in the temples. Enslaved people were forced to serve others. Slaveholders thought of them as property. Some slaves were prisoners of war, others were criminals. Still others were enslaved because they had to pay off debts. In Sumer, women and men had separate roles. Men headed the households. Only males could go to school. Women, however, did have rights. They could buy and sell property and run businesses. A skilled people. Sumerians invented writing and made other important contributions to later peoples. Do you like to read? If so, you owe a great debt to the Sumerians because they were the first to invent writing. Read about this achievement and others. The Sumerians, which is a section of ancient Mesopotamia and southern Mesopotamia, left a lasting mark on world history. Their ideas and inventions were copied and improved upon by other people. As a result, Mesopotamia has been called the, quote, cradle of civilization. Why was writing important? The people of Sumer created many things that still affect our lives today. Probably their greatest invention was writing. Writing is important because it helps people keep records and pass on their ideas to others. People in Sumer developed writing to keep track of business deals and other events. Their writing system was called cuneiform. It consisted of hundreds of wedge-shaped marks cut into damp clay tablets with a sharp-ended reed. Archaeologists have found thousands of these cuneiform tablets, telling us much about Mesopotamian life. Only a few people, mostly boys from wealthy families, learned how to write. After years of training, they became scribes, or record keepers. Scribes held honored positions in society, and often going on to become judges and political leaders. It's also interesting to note here that cuneiform, to highlight what we just read, cuneiform was used to keep track of, or to keep a record of deals. Remember, we had talked about in class how this time period could be, people went through a time period of stealing things from one another, taking things from one another. There was no law. So once things are written down, if you went out and said, hey, I'm going to trade you a sheep for 2 bronze blades, and the person says, they come over and they take 2 sheep from you, and you're like, hold on, wait a minute, why are you taking one? Why are you taking 2 sheep from me? Our deal was to only take 1. If you have it written down, you don't have one person's word against the other person's word. So it's going to be the beginning shapings of a type of law. Sumerian literature. The Sumerians also produced works of literature. The world's oldest known story comes from Sumer. It is called the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's an epic. An epic is a long poem that tells the story of a hero. The hero Gilgamesh is a king who travels around the world with a friend and performs great deeds. When his friend dies, Gilgamesh searches for a way to live forever. He learns that this is possible only for the gods. And the reason why that example is important is because this is the first time that we see an example of literature being used as a form of entertainment, not just keeping track of or keep a record of trades. Advances in science and math. The Mesopotamians' creativity extended to technology too. You read earlier about Sumerian irrigation systems. Sumerians also invented the wagon wheel to help carry people and goods from place to place. Another breakthrough was the plow, which made farming easier. Still another invention was the sailboat, which replaced muscle power with wind power. Sumerians developed many mathematical ideas. They used geometry to measure fields and put up buildings. They also created a number system based on 60. We have them to thank for our 60-minute hour, our 60-second minute, and a 360-degree circle. In addition, Sumerian people watched the skies to learn the best times to plant crops and to hold religious festivals. They recorded the positions of the planets and stars and developed a 12-month calendar based on the cycles of the moon. Linking the past and the present. Then, in ancient Mesopotamia, only boys from wealthy and high ranking families went to the E- Eb- Eduba, which means tablet house. At the Eduba, the world's first school, boys studied reading, writing, and mathematics, and trained to be scribes. For hours every day, they copied the signs of the cuneiform script, trying to master hundreds of words and phrases. Now, today, both boys and girls go to school. They study reading, writing, mathematics, but also many other subjects. As students advance in their education, they have a great number of career choices and are able to choose the career that fits their talents. Something to think about in terms of education. In what way is education different today than it was in, in the time of ancient Mesopotamia? That is the end of the second half of section 2 in chapter 1.